wake up in a small, cozy chamber bathed in soft blue-gray light. The glow filters in through a round window set into one wall, casting a pale lunar illumination across the room. For a moment, you remain still, absorbing the tranquility that surrounds you. The bed beneath you is modest and neatly made, with a thick quilt that still retains a bit of your warmth. In the low gravity, your body feels light. As you stretch slowly, your limbs move with a dreamy, unhurried grace. There is no sound of an alarm clock here, no jarring beep to pull you from slumber. Instead, it was the supple change in light that awakened you, the earthlight shifting as it slanted through the window, signaling the passage of time in a place without mornings in the traditional sense. In the quiet, you hear only the faint whir of a mechanical clock from the next room, its ticking subdued by distance and the walls of your habitat. The silence is profound, yet comforting, like a soft blanket wrapping around every sound. You take a moment to look around the chamber. The walls are curved gently, forming a protective dome around you. Along the pale, smooth wall, you can make out shelves filled with assorted tools and trinkets. A well-worn journal lies on a small table beside your bed, atop which an antique pocket watch glints faintly in the blue glow. You remember winding it last night, as you do every night, a ritual to mark the day's end. Now its hands quietly assure you that it's time to rise and tend to your gentle duties. As you sit up, your feet touch the floor, cool metal-paneled flooring that hums faintly with the energy of life support systems. The hum is so steady and low, you only notice it in moments like this, when your mind is fresh from dreams. It's a reminder that this little haven is alive in its own way, keeping you safe in a place otherwise inhospitable. You slide your feet into a pair of soft slippers waiting at your bedside. They keep the lunar chill at bay as you stand, feeling almost as if you could float for a second before gravity gently reminds you of your footing. You cross the small room slowly, each step an exercise in mindful movement. Even after so long, the lightness of each footfall on the moon still feels novel, as if you're walking in a story where the rules of weight and motion were rewritten just for you. You run a hand through the air, noticing motes of lunar dust that sparkle in the stray beam of Earthlight. The dust is a constant companion here, finding its way inside no matter how hard you try to keep it out. A few specks catch the light and twirl lazily before settling again, leaving you a silent good morning greeting written in particles and glow. Standing by the round window, you gaze outside at the landscape of the moon stretching out before you. The view still takes your breath away, no matter how many times you've seen it. Just beyond your habitat lies an endless expanse of grey dust and rock. Gentle slopes of powdery regolith lead toward the rim of a crater in the distance, its edge marked by long shadows that slowly shrink or grow with the sun's leisurely journey across the sky. Above those distant hills hangs the earth, a marble of blues and whites and swirls of cloud suspended in the black lunar sky. It's larger than the sun appears from Earth and far more soothing in its glow, a constant companion in the sky that neither rises nor sets, watching over you like a silent, benevolent eye. As you watch that familiar planet hanging in the dark, you feel both connected and peacefully apart. There is a comfort in knowing it's there, teeming with life and motion, while you stand in this realm of stillness and slow time. You allow yourself a gentle smile. Here you are, the sole watcher of clocks in a place where day and night follow a rhythm all their own. Here, you wake not to blaring alarms or bustling streets, but to the soft companionship of dust motes and distant worlds. You blink slowly, letting your eyes adjust and your mind fully awaken. The day, or what passes for day in this timeless lunar solitude, has begun. And though there's no actual morning sun rising swiftly above the horizon, you carry the morning inside you, in the renewed energy and calm purpose that comes with each awakening. With a final glance at the tranquil moonscape outside and the ever-present earth, you turn away from the window. There is a quiet list of tasks unfolding in your thoughts, gentle routines waiting to be fulfilled. The slow ticking from the next room grows just a touch more noticeable in the silence, reminding you of your role here. Time to tend to the clocks, to the heart of this little world of yours. Time to begin another peaceful day on the moon. Pushing open a round hatch-style door, you step out of your sleeping quarters and into the main workshop. The ceiling here rises a little higher, curving like the inside of an eggshell, and the space is illuminated by a soft light that feels almost like perpetual dawn. The source of this gentle glow is twofold: a narrow skylight in the dome above, currently filtering in a diluted ray of sunlight, and the electric lamps you've cleverly adjusted to mimic an early morning hue. Together, they bathe the workshop in a calm silver-golden ambience, bright enough to see by, yet soft enough to preserve the tranquil mood. The air carries a subtle scent of oil and metal mixed with lunar dust. It's an earthy mechanical perfume that has become the signature fragrance of your days. Each breath you take is tinged with it. The smell of old clock springs, polished brass gears. There's also the faintest trace of something like chalk or ash. That would be the moon dust, ever persistent. You find it collects in corners and on every surface, if left unchecked. A delicate grey powder that clings to your boots and tools. No matter how often you sweep or brush it away, the moon leaves little grey gifts on every surface, as if to say it's always with you. You've learned to accept this persistent guest with a fond, resigned smile. Part nuisance, part souvenir of this strange home. Your eyes roam over the workshop, taking in the familiar sight of your tools and creations. Along one curved wall stands a row of tall, freestanding clocks, the faces ornate and varied. Some have Roman numerals, others simpler markings. One even features phases of the moon delicately painted along its edge. Each clock ticks at its own pace, a fraction of a second apart from the next, creating a soft chorus of timekeeping. Normally on Earth, such a collection might sound chaotic. But here, the intervening walls and the spacious room diffuse the sounds into something like a gentle rain pattering on leaves. The overlapping ticks and tocks become a soothing backdrop to your solitude. On a broad wooden workbench in the center of the room, the innards of another clock lie in careful disassembly. Tiny gears and springs resting in neat little dishes. Polished tools, jewelers' screwdrivers, tweezers, a magnifying lens, are arranged meticulously beside the patient clock parts, awaiting your skilled hands. Above the bench hangs a softly lit diagram on parchment, an old blueprint of celestial mechanics. It charts lunar phases and planetary orbits, entwined with the design of a giant clock, as if mapping out the dance of time in the heavens. This is your own creation, a project that's both practical and philosophical. A grand orrery clock that will show not just the time of day, but the position of Earth and Sun, and perhaps even track the constellations overhead. It remains a work in progress, a dream ticking along slowly as you refine each cog. Against another wall you have a modest kitchen nook, just a small counter with a heating element, a kettle, and a tin of tea leaves that traveled all the way from Earth. A single mug rests upside down on a hook. Above the counter is a shelf where a solitary green plant grows in a ceramic pot, its leaves reaching toward the skylight. It's a young lunar lily, a hardy plant you've nurtured from seed in this low gravity. Its presence a comforting bit of living green in a world of gray. You gently run a fingertip. Next to the kitchen area, a tall, narrow cabinet holds your suit and helmet for venturing outside. The suit hangs weightlessly on its hooks, the fabric and joints showing signs of heavy use, a scuff here, a fine layer of dust there, each mark a memory of an excursion onto the lunar surface. For now, you leave it be. The time to step outside will come later. Yet its mere presence is reassuring. It represents freedom, the ability to go out and touch the raw moon itself, and also safety, a trusty companion keeping you alive, out there in the silent void. Your gaze drifts to a section of the workshop floor where the material changes from metal to thick glass. Beneath this transparent pane is the lunar ground itself. You built your habitat atop a flat patch of basaltic rock and installed this window in the floor to remind you of what's beneath. Looking down, you see the gray regolith just inches below your slippers. In the sunlight that filters from above, you notice a few sparkles in the soil, microscopic beads of glass from ancient meteor impacts catching the light. Sometimes in the evenings, you like to sit by this floor window and gaze at the moon dust, imagining the countless stories and cosmic events each grain could tell. It's a bit like stargazing in reverse. Instead of looking up at the infinite sky, you look down at the ancient ground, feeling the deep time under your feet. Finally, you turn toward the heavy circular door that leads outside. It's closed at the moment, secured tight with a large wheel lock. Beside the door is a small porthole window at eye level. You wander over and peer through it, out onto the immediate surroundings of your lunar homestead. The outside world appears tinted through the thick glass, the gray of the dust, the black of the sky, the white highlights where the sunlight strikes. Everything is cast in a slight golden hue by the window's coating. You see the gentle slope of terrain right outside, leading up to the broader plain. Just beyond, several large boulders stand guard like silent sentinels. They have been there long before you arrived, and will remain long after, their surfaces pitted by countless tiny impacts from space over the ages. Between them, the ground is soft and inviting in its own way, carrying the footprints you've left on previous walks. Those prints remain exactly as you pressed them. In the moon's stillness, nothing ever comes to erase them. It's odd to see such perfect preservation of every step you've taken outside, a diary of footprints under the eternal sky. Farther out, beyond the cluster of boulders, the land stretches into the broad, ancient crater you saw from your bedroom window. From this angle, you can just make out a portion of its floor, mostly flat expanse with occasional jagged peaks where asteroids once struck eons ago. The horizon is closer here than on Earth, gently curving, giving you the sense that you truly are on a small celestial body. The quiet morning unfolds gently, guided by the comforting rhythm of your daily rituals. You begin at the little kitchen nook. Filling the kettle with water, you set it on the heating element and let it warm. As you wait, you prepare a pinch of the precious earth tea leaves in a small infuser ball. The leaves carry a subtle floral aroma even before steeping, a scent that evokes memories of green gardens and sunlight on petals. In this gray world, such a fragrance is a rare treasure. Soon the kettle begins to sing, a soft rising whistle that sounds almost sleepy. In the hush of your workshop, it's the loudest sound around. A friendly voice breaking the silence. You allow yourself a tiny smile at that, imagining the kettle is greeting you good morning in its own way. With deliberate care, you pour the hot water into a sturdy ceramic mug and dunk the infuser in. Tendrils of steam curl upward, painting invisible patterns in the air. They warm your face as you lean over to inhale the soothing scent. You wrap both hands around the mug, relishing the gentle heat against your palms. In a place where the floor and walls often feel cool, this warmth is a small luxury. The first sip is mellow and earthy, with hints of chamomile and something like vanilla. It spreads through you, a comforting warmth that wakes you up from the inside out. As you sip your tea, you nibble on a simple biscuit, slightly sweet and a little crumbly. One of the treats you allow yourself from your stored supplies. The taste, though modest, brings contentment. It's a quiet breakfast, but one you savor deeply, every sensation amplified by the stillness around you. Cradling your mug, you wander over to the row of grandfather clocks along the wall. This is one of your most important morning tasks, tending to these old friends. You gently open the glass face of the nearest clock to wind it. The clock is tall and elegant, made of dark walnut wood that gleams faintly. As you insert the small key and turn, you feel the resistance of the mechanism fighting against the tension you apply. The spring inside tightens with a soft series of clicks. You can almost feel the clock's heartbeat quicken. When you finish winding, the steady tick-tock grows a touch stronger. There we are, you whisper affectionately, as if speaking to a living thing. In this quiet life, even inanimate objects become companions of a sort. Moving down the line, you repeat the process with each clock in turn. Some require the lift of a weight that you pull up slowly, feeling the weight's surprisingly lighter heft in the move. Resolving to fix the silent brass clock, you gather a few tools from a drawer, a tiny screwdriver, a dropper of fine clock oil, and a pair of magnifying spectacles that hook over your ears. You carry them over to the quiet clock, humming a little tune under your breath as you do, an old habit to keep your mind focused and calm. The brass clock sits patiently, its face frozen at an odd time that surely does not match the others. "All right, my friend," you murmur softly, as if consoling the clock. "Let's see what's ailing you." With gentle care, you maneuver the clock away from the wall and angle it so you can access its back panel. The clock isn't very large, about the height of your forearm, so it's easy to lift even in Earth's gravity, let alone here. Still, you handle it as delicately as a newborn, aware that even a small jolt could jostle its components further. The metal casing feels cool in your hands, and a faint mechanical scent of old machinery wafts up when you open the back panel. Inside, the heart of the clock is revealed, a labyrinth of interlocking gears, springs and levers, all fixed in place around a central mainspring barrel. You adjust your magnifying spectacles and peer into the mechanism. The interior is dimly lit by the glow from your workshop lamps, so you take a portable lamp and position it to shine inside the clock's back. The light glints off brass cogs and steel shafts. Everything is tiny and precise. It's a little universe unto itself, one you know intimately. Almost immediately, you spot the likely culprit. A small gear near the top of the assembly is slightly askew, not meshing with its neighbor. It appears to have slipped out of alignment. Perhaps a screw loosened or a bit of lunar dust worked its way in and interfered. You also notice the mainspring is fully wound tight. The poor thing was straining and then jammed by this misaligned gear. That would certainly stop the whole clock. You carefully insert the screwdriver and tighten a nearby screw that seems a tad loose. It turns easily, too easily, confirming that it had indeed worked its way out. As you tighten it, you hold your breath for a moment. The low gravity means there's less force keeping things seated, and screws can wiggle free over time if not secured well. Note to self, perhaps a touch of thread lock or a drop of resin on these screws in the future, you think. The screw snugly in place now, you use a pair of tweezers to gently realign the misbehaving gear so its teeth interlock perfectly with the next gear in the train. Before closing up, you inspect the rest of the mechanism for any dust or debris. Sure enough, A fine filament of grey dust is wrapped around one of the time. You begin the familiar ritual of suiting up to step outside. First comes the inner jumpsuit layer, a comfortable thermal lining that you pull on, snug and reassuring against your skin. Over that, you don the main suit. Even in the reduced gravity, the suit has heft, and you move slowly to guide each limb into its sleeve and leg. The fabric is thick and cream-colored, scuffed in places from past adventures. You fasten the front seal with a practiced motion, locking in the pressure. There's a quiet hiss and a pop as the suit's systems engage, a sound you feel more than hear. Next, you lift the large helmet from its stand. For a moment, you catch a distorted reflection of your face in its curved visor, an abstract ghost against the room's light. With a decisive twist, you secure the helmet onto the neck ring, it clicks into place, and the world suddenly becomes quieter. Your own breathing now, the loudest thing in your ears. Gloves on, oxygen flowing, suit checks complete, you step to the airlock door. Your heart gives a gentle thump of anticipation. Not fear, but a quiet exhilaration that comes with venturing into the lunar outdoors. You spin the heavy wheel lock until it turns no more, and the door releases. Stepping into the small airlock chamber, you initiate the cycle. There's a brief pause as the pressure equalizes. A soft light above the outer hatch turns from red to green, and with a faint mechanical rumble, the outer hatch slides open. A flood of brilliance greets you. The sunlight on the moon is stark and unfiltered by any atmosphere, painting the landscape in high contrast light and shadow. You step out and place your boot onto the grey regolith. Even through the thick boot sole, you can feel the distinctive give of the powdery ground. It's like stepping into soft, dry snow or fine sand, yielding yet firm enough to hold you up. You pause at the threshold, taking in the vast expanse around you. The sky above is a deep, black dome. Even though the sun shines, a few stubborn stars still gleam near the horizon where the glare is weaker. And there, to your right and high up, hangs the earth. Half in light and half in shadow now, a glowing crescent of blues and whites watching over the barren terrain. For a moment, you simply stand and breathe, listening to the gentle whoosh of air in your helmet and the muffled sound of your own heartbeat. The contrast between the lively world behind that distant crescent and the silent world under your boots strikes you. Here, every movement you make is solitary and significant, occurring in a soundless theater. You take one slow step forward, then another. Each footstep creates a small puff of dust that sprays outward in a graceful arc before settling back to the ground. Back inside the habitat, you slowly peel off your suit layers. The helmet comes off first, and you breathe deeply of the indoor air, which feels warm and soft compared to the sterile scent inside the suit. Droplets of perspiration had gathered at your brow, and you wiped them away with the back of your hand, your skin cooling in the ambient temperature. There's a contented tiredness in your muscles from the excursion, a pleasant reminder that you've moved and worked under the open sky of the moon. You hang the suit back in its cabinet, patting its sturdy fabric as one might clap a friend on the shoulder for a job well done. A few flecks of grey dust fall from it to the floor, and you make a mental note to sweep later, although not right this moment. It's midday by your reckoning, though out on the moon's surface, the sun still sits in what could be considered a perpetual morning position. Inching ever so slowly along, your stomach gives a gentle nudge, reminding you that it's time for a meal. In a place without the usual markers of time, no noon bells or lunch break chatter, You rely on routine and your own body's cues to divide the day. And so, keeping with the rhythm you've established, you prepare a simple lunch. At the kitchen nook, you heat some water again and mix it with a packet of soup broth and vegetables. The ingredients are dried but spring to life with a bit of heat and moisture, filling the air with a savory aroma. As the soup warms in a small pot, you slice a portion of bread that you baked a couple of days ago from your limited stores of flour. It's a modest loaf, a little dense and crumbly. Bread behaves differently in low gravity, you've learned. But it tastes of home and effort. You sit down at your tiny table, really just a corner of the workbench cleared off, and enjoy the meal slowly. Each spoonful of soup is comforting, spreading warmth through your belly. And the bread, though simple, satisfies with its chewy texture. While you eat, you flip through one of the few books you brought along. The pages are a bit yellowed and the cover worn, a collection of classic poems and musings about the night sky. It feels appropriate here. You read a few lines about the moon and stars written by someone gazing up from Earth long ago, and you can't help but smile at the irony. They wrote of a luminous moon guiding them in the night, never imagining someone might be sitting on that moon, reading their words by the light of a lamp. With your meal finished, you linger a moment with the book, letting the poet's words hang in your mind like the echo of a song. These quiet midday moments of reading are something you treasure. They connect your solitary life. To give your hands a rest, you decide to step away from the bench and stretch your legs again. Not outside this time, but just a leisurely walk through your domain. The workshop isn't large, but you make a slow circuit of it, mug of water in hand. Hydration is important, you remind yourself, even in this arid place. You walk past the tall clocks, each ticking away dutifully, and run your fingers lightly along a polished wooden case as you go by. You peer through the floor window at the ground beneath. There is the rock and dust, still there, unchanged, your own boot print visible at the corner of the pane where you stood on that spot once during construction. Then you pace over to the plant on the shelf. Its green leaves catch the eye immediately in this world of whites and grays. You check its soil with a fingertip. It's still slightly damp from the last watering, but you add a little water from a spout anyway, knowing the dry environment can wick moisture away quickly. There you go, you whisper to the lunar lily, watching the droplets soak in around its roots. The plant seems to perk up under your care, or perhaps that's your imagination. Either way, nurturing this bit of life gives you a quiet joy, a direct connection to the living earth that contrasts with the inert, if beautiful, landscape outside. The hours of the afternoon flow by softly. There's no urgent matter to attend to, no strict schedule to follow beyond what you set for yourself. This freedom within routine is one of the gifts of life here. Time is yours to shape, not to be fought or chased. If you feel an urge to sketch the view outside, you do so on a scrap of paper. If you think of an improvement to some apparatus, you make a note or tinker with it at your own pace. Today, the orrery took much of your focus, but as that winds down, you find yourself contemplating what to do next. Perhaps a bit of cleaning again, or organizing tools, or maybe simply sitting by the window to watch the slow crawl of lunar shadows. Eventually, you settle into the chair by the window, the same one you had stood at when morning broke. The earth is still there in the sky, having hardly moved perceptibly from this morning's position, though its shape has waned just a little more into its crescent. A reminder that time is indeed passing, even if slowly. The sun, too, has shifted, altering the angles of light that enter your skylight and the porthole. You notice the beam of sunlight through the skylight now falls on a different wall than it did when you first came in for lunch, inching its way as the lunar day progresses.
Evening comes not with a golden sunset or the chatter of nightfall birds, but with a slow, solemn changing of light. You notice it first in the quality of the sunlight streaming through the skylight. It has shifted to a more oblique angle, the beams stretching longer and turning a gentle shade of silver. Outside the porthole, the shadows cast by the rocks have lengthened considerably, reaching out like dark, inky fingers over the grey ground. You realize that the sun, after its long, drawn-out arc, is finally nearing the horizon of your crater. A quiet thrill fills you. Lunar sunset is a spectacle you never tire of, an event as subtle as it is profound. You pull a stool over to the window to watch the changing world outside. The crater rim far in the distance is now crowned with a soft halo of light. Unlike on Earth, there are no vibrant pinks or oranges to paint the sky. Here the sun simply recedes, and with it, the harsh white glare fades to a deepening twilight blue-gray. The contrast between light and shadow sharpens momentarily, etching every crater and boulder in stark relief. Then, slowly, the line between day and night glides across the plain. As the sun's last sliver dips below the horizon, the landscape surrenders to shadow. In that moment, you catch sight of something extraordinary, a faint glow hovering just above the horizon, a pearly band of light against the black sky. It's the lunar twilight phenomenon you've heard about, a delicate glow caused by countless dust particles suspended high, catching the last rays of the sun. The sight is ethereal. It's as if the edge of the moon is outlined in silver fire. The glow lingers for a short while, then slowly disperses, leaving the horizon to the encroaching darkness. Darkness on the moon is unlike darkness anywhere else. It is nearly absolute, a velvet black that swallows the land. Yet it is not frightening, for almost immediately another source of light steps into the sun's absence. High above, the earth is now in its full phase, a brilliant marble fully illuminated by the sun that has just set on your side of the moon. The full earth shines down, and its light is surprisingly strong. A soft blue-white radiance spreads across the ground, bringing out gentle shadows in a new direction. It is earthshine, an echo of daylight, and under its glow the lunar landscape takes on a muted, dreamlike quality. Turn on a few gentle lamps indoors. The light you choose is low and warm, a golden glow that doesn't overpower the burgeoning darkness outside. It creates a cozy aura around the workshop, illuminating the clocks that now continue to tick in shadowed corners and gleam softly when an occasional reflection from Earthlight passes over their glass faces. The entire room seems to exhale and relax. Where daytime had the faint buzz of activity, sunlight, work, movement, Night brings a settling calm. The tools on your bench lie untouched now, resting until tomorrow. The plant's leaves, sensitive to the cycle of light, have slowly folded inwards as if sleeping. Even the dust motes in the air have dwindled, no longer swirling in sunbeams, but hiding in the dimness. You remain by the window, drawn by the magnetism of the lunar night. Pressing your forehead lightly against the cool glass, you gaze upward. Stars, previously washed out by the sunlight, now emerge in breathtaking clarity. The Milky Way unfurls overhead as a shimmering river of countless stars. You spot familiar constellations, the same ones you used to trace from Earth, now shining unblinkingly in the vacuum sky. There's Orion, upside down from your perspective, and near the horizon the bright spark of Venus, a morning star for Earth, but setting now for you. Seeing these celestial sights, you feel an intimate connection with anyone who has ever looked up at the night and pondered the stars. Only now you are among the stars, looking back at Earth. The quiet of the evening deepens. With no fanfare of weather or sound, the moon's night simply is. Yet in that simplicity lies profound beauty. You notice how the Earth's glow shifts ever so slightly. Clouds moving across its face change the pattern of light and dark on the ground below. A broad swath of the crater is illuminated now by Earthlight, revealing details you might not catch in glaring daylight. The subtle undulations of terrain, the gentle slope that leads out of the crater, and maybe, if you imagine, the suggestion of pathways where none exist, inviting the eye to wander. Within your habitat, you take a slow, content breath. Dusk has settled not just outside, but within you as well. The busy energy of the day has drained away, replaced by a contemplative calm. In this twilight hour, emotions can sometimes tiptoe in with the shadows. You feel a slight tightness in your chest, an inexplicable mix of melancholy and peace that often comes at day's end. It's that universal feeling of evening, a gentle longing. Night deepens, and with it comes a heightened awareness of yourself, your body, your mind, and the singular situation you inhabit. In the gentle lamplight, you slide into a cushioned chair near the center of the workshop, allowing yourself a moment of pure rest. The events of the day have left a comfortable fatigue in your limbs. You rotate one shoulder slowly, feeling the slight stiffness there ease as you stretch. Living in 1/6 Earth gravity has changed you in many small ways. Your movements have become more fluid and balletic. Strength means something different here. Tasks that would require effort on Earth, lifting heavy tools or jumping up to reach a high shelf, are almost trivial on the moon. Yet you've also learned that without the constant pull of Earth's gravity, your muscles need regular work to stay strong, hence your commitment to those daily exercises. You flex your fingers and notice a faint ache from the fine screwdriver work earlier. It's a pleasant reminder of the precision you applied and the careful labor that occupied your hands. You run a hand through your hair and chuckle softly at a memory. When you first arrived, you would sometimes stand too quickly or misjudge your own momentum, ending up smacking into the ceiling or stumbling because you expected to weigh more. Now, after so much time, moving in lunar gravity has become second nature. You carry yourself with a gentle, deliberate grace at all times, If you ever return to Earth, you muse, you might feel like a leaden creature tethered to the ground, at least until you adapted again. It's amazing how the body acclimates, how it can find a new normal in an environment so foreign. Physically, you feel healthy and strong in your own way. Occasionally, you notice slight differences. Your legs are perhaps a bit slimmer than they used to be. Your posture naturally more upright without Earth's weight bearing down. There's a faint scar on your forearm from a minor scrape when assembling part of the habitat. Wounds heal a tad differently here, you've observed. Slower to close without as much gravity drawing the blood. But heal they do, and so have you, in more ways than one, through the cycles of lunar days and nights. As you sit in silence, your mind begins to wander through the corridors of memory and feeling. The solitude of the moon has a way of peeling back layers of thought, revealing things long tucked away. In the quiet now, you allow some of those thoughts to surface. You recall one evening years ago on Earth. You were a child lying on the grass of your backyard. The memory is so vivid that for a moment, you almost hear those crickets now, feel the humid summer night air. But here there is only the soft hum of life support and the dry, cool stillness of your lunar home. A wave of longing washes through you and then ebbs gently. It's not a sharp pang, but a mellow, nostalgic ache. You miss the sounds of Earth, the rustle of leaves in a breeze, distant voices, rain tapping on a roof. In the endless silence of the moon, those memories have become precious echoes in your mind. Sometimes you worry you might forget the subtle details of such sensations, so you make a practice of recalling them, like flipping through a mental photo album to keep them fresh. And in doing so, you find that those experiences, though distant, are still a part of you. They live on in your senses and dreams, ready to visit you whenever you invite them. Your gaze drifts to the corner of the room, where a small collection of personal mementos rests on a shelf. Among them is a faded photograph in a simple frame taken years ago on Earth. It shows a younger you, grinning widely, arms slung around a dear friend, or is it a sibling, with the backdrop of a night sky behind you. You pick up the frame and hold it in your lap. The glass is cool to the touch. In the lamplight, the faces in the photo look back at you with frozen laughter. You allow yourself a smile, and perhaps a tear that doesn't quite fall. "Look at me now," you whisper to the photo, half in amusement, half in wonder. The person in that picture could hardly have imagined the quiet, lunar life you now lead, yet you don't regret being here. The solitude, though intense, has become a canvas on which you've painted a new version of yourself, one more patient, introspective, and resourceful than the person in that photo. You've come to know your own mind in ways that might never have been possible amid the noise and rush of earthly life. Here, you have confronted loneliness and found that it can be endured, even befriended. There are difficult moments, of course, days when the silence felt heavy, or when you yearned for a conversation and caught yourself saying words out loud just to hear a voice. But you've learned to soothe those moments with simple rituals, brewing tea and speaking a toast to the empty room, or humming a lullaby that echoes softly under the dome, or writing your thoughts freely in your journal as though writing a letter to a confidant. You set the photograph back on the shelf gently. Your reflection ghosts across the glass for an instant, your face now older and calmer than the younger one captured in print. You're not alone, you remind yourself softly, echoing something you've said many times when the silence seemed too loud. And it's true. In this moment, you feel them with you. The family who encouraged your curiosity, the friends who laughed and wondered with you, perhaps even colleagues back on Earth who helped send you here and await your updates. Your thoughts turn to the meaning of this solitary enterprise. What is it all for? At times, caring for a collection of clocks and machines on a distant rock might have struck you as an odd, almost absurd calling. But you know that within that oddness lies beauty. By keeping time here, by observing and tending this outpost, you become a bridge between worlds. The data you log, the observations you make, even the simple fact of your daily living, all contribute to humanity's understanding of our moon and ourselves. You are, in a sense, a caretaker not just of clocks, but of human presence in a place where humans seldom tread. That thought gives you purpose on the days purpose feels thin. Physically, you shift in your chair and pull your robe a little tighter around yourself. The temperature in the habitat is stable, but you've noticed you feel cooler in the evenings. Perhaps your metabolism slowing as you unwind. You rub your hands together, generating a mild warmth and comfort from the friction. Your body has its share of weariness now. It's been a full day with a good deal of activity. A yawn escapes you before you can stifle it, and you let it out fully, unembarrassed in your aloneness. Your eyelids are getting heavier, but your mind is gently alert, wandering through these reflections like a traveler in a familiar landscape at dusk. In the peaceful hush of this night, you realize that you have found a kind of equilibrium. Your body, though far from the world it evolved in, is healthy. Your mind, though often alone with itself, is at peace more often than it is troubled. The challenges you've faced here, physical, emotional, and spiritual, have honed you. Sure, there are times you feel the sting of isolation when you long for a voice answering back or a hand to help with a stubborn jar lid. There are moments you question if a person truly belongs in a place so removed from the hum of life. But then you remember the profound sense of belonging you've cultivated with this silent world. You have learned the moon's moods, its mornings and twilights, its patterns and surprises. In return, it has learned you, your footprints, your laughter, your quiet tears. In a way, you and this lunar land have an understanding. You close your eyes for a minute and simply breathe, in and out. The gentle rhythm of your breath is steady, and you feel how it syncs with the slow tick of a clock somewhere behind you. In this synchrony, you find comfort. The slight tension in your chest from earlier has eased, replaced by a feeling of warmth and connectedness, as if an invisible thread ties you to all the things you miss and all the things you cherish about this life. When you open your eyes, they drift once more to the window and the earth beyond. A thought arises, quiet but persistent. You wonder if at this very hour, someone on that distant blue sphere is looking up at the moon, perhaps feeling a pang of loneliness or curiosity, not realizing that there is a solitary soul up here looking back. The idea makes you smile. In all the vastness that separates you from humanity, there are also invisible threads of connection. Thoughts, memories, shared starlight, the pull of gravity itself binding moon to earth. You are alone, and yet you are part of an unseen tapestry that joins you to everyone you've ever known, and even to strangers who share the night under the same sky. This realization sends a gentle spark of hope through you. Your reflections have soothed any lingering melancholy and reinforced the quiet strength that has carried you through every day so far. With a calm mind and a rested body, you feel ready to delve even deeper into the significance of this life you lead, to find meaning in the isolation and the routine. Perhaps you'll explore those thoughts now, or maybe simply carry them into your dreams. Either way, you sense that the night still has lessons and insights to offer before it yields to sleep. Your reflections naturally widen beyond yourself, spilling into thoughts of humanity, culture, and the intangible threads of meaning that connect you to the rest of existence. Here you are, a solitary figure on the moon, and yet you carry with you the entire heritage of human wonder and mythology about this place. You lean back in your chair and let your eyes wander over the domed ceiling, as if gazing beyond it into the past. How many stories have been told about the moon through the ages? How many eyes have lifted to this orb in hope, in fear, in fascination, long before any person ever came here? You recall some of those old tales now. In one corner of your memory, an ancient legend unfolds, the story of Chang'e, the moon goddess who lives in eternal solitude with only a jade rabbit as her companion. You imagine her under a cinnamon tree, brewing her elixir of immortality, a lonely figure silhouetted by earthlight, much like you were moments ago at the window. In another cultural tapestry, you remember that people speak of a man in the moon, a friendly face seen in the patterns of the lunar maria and craters. As a child, you looked up and tried to trace that face with your finger, never dreaming that one day you would stand on the very ground that formed its eyes and smile. Now, sitting here,
It's a playful habit, a way to give shape to the vast quiet around you. After all, even if those figures are only stories, the comfort they offer is real. In a sense, you carry all those mythical companions with you, the goddess, the rabbit, the man, ensuring that the moon is not truly empty. The cultural rituals of Earth find echoes in your life here too. You recall that on Earth, during the Mid-Autumn Festival, families gather to admire the full moon and whisper their secret wishes to it. Standing at your window earlier, under the full Earth, the inverse of a full moon back home, you felt a kinship with all those who have ever sent hopes and dreams upward. Perhaps some of those wishes were for adventure, for exploration, wishes that people like you have answered by coming here. In turn, you sometimes find yourself performing your own small lunar rituals. On particularly beautiful nights, you've lifted a cup of tea towards the window, in a quiet toast as if clinking glasses with all the moon gazers back on Earth. And when loneliness presses on your heart, you remember the countless people have, for millennia, seen a friend in the moon. That thought warms you. Without knowing it, they've befriended you too, the person on the other side of the sky. Your thoughts turn to Earth, that blue cradle of civilization glowing in the firmament. From this vantage, national borders vanish. The planet is one, whole and radiant. It often strikes you how unified Earth appears from here, and how different that is from the often fragmented reality on the ground. The irony isn't lost on you, that you had to leave Earth to truly appreciate the common bond of everyone on it. Floating above the surface of that world are all the cultures, languages, laughter, and struggles of humanity. And here, on the moon, you are both apart from it and a guardian of some small part of its dreams. You carry the responsibility of representing all those people in a way, of proving that humanity can extend itself beyond its home and still remember who it is. A gentle sense of purpose fills you. You've occasionally wondered, in the quiet of long nights, whether your presence here matters in the grand scheme. But when you think of Earth as a whole, and the ages of people looking up at the moon with wonder, you realize you are part of something continuous. You are one chapter in an endless story, humanity's story of yearning and reaching outward. Your work maintaining the habitat, keeping time, observing the moon's nuances, all of it contributes a verse to that epic. It's a scientific endeavor, yes, but also a profoundly human one. In the great social tapestry of your species, explorers and dreamers have always been threads that push the pattern outward, adding new space and color. Sometimes you wonder if elsewhere at this very moment there are other solitary souls tending their own corners of the cosmos. Perhaps an astronaut watching dust storms swirl on Mars, or a distant stargazer keeping vigil on a far space station.
In your mind, you form a quiet kinship with these kindred celestial workers, each of you laboring under the same stars, connected by a shared devotion to exploration and wonder. You feel proud, humbled, and motivated to be such a thread. The spiritual aspect of life up here has grown on you as well. In the stillness and majesty of the lunar landscape, it's hard not to feel a sense of the sacred. Sometimes, when the stars blaze above and the Milky Way forms its arch, you feel as if you're inside a great cathedral, one not built by human hands, but by the universe itself. The dome of the sky, the gray, dusty floor, the earth shining like a stained glass window in the distance, all come together to create moments of reverence. In those moments, you often close your eyes and offer a word of thanks to the moon, to the cosmos, to whatever benevolent force might be listening. Not necessarily a formal prayer to any deity, but a simple expression of gratitude for being part of this extraordinary existence. You've crafted small tokens of meaning around you as well. On your workbench, next to the clock's tools, lies a smooth, round pebble that you found on one of your first moonwalks. You keep it there like a talisman. Each morning when winding the clocks, you touch it and feel a grounding connection to the moon itself. A ritualistic acknowledgement that this place is now home. Above your bed, tacked to the curved wall, you've pinned a tiny flag. Not of a country, but a personal emblem you doodled one quiet afternoon, representing your little lunar domain. It has a simple sketch of a clock and a crescent moon intertwined. It's a whimsical insignia, a reminder that even alone, you can define your identity and space. Living in isolation, you've developed your own social universe of sorts. The inanimate objects around you have character and almost personality after so long. You often chat with the AI assistant that monitors the habitat systems, even though it's mostly a one-sided conversation filled with your own jokes. You've named the clocks, silly names that you utter fondly when one of them ticks particularly loudly or falls out of sync. Settle down, old Kronos, you might murmur when the grandfather clock's tick grows audibly uneven, as if scolding a grumpy old man. Or, time for bed, Bella, when the ornate clock with the chime rings out a bit too vigorously at night. It's a harmless, endearing habit that makes you chuckle at yourself. In truth, there's no one here to find it odd that you give pep talks to a potted plant, or say thank you aloud to the life support console after it runs a successful systems check.